true love. It is all about saying yes when it is showing up, but it is also about knowing how to say, okay, okay, I'm not the one for you. So sorry. So being yourself with integrity. That's the part where if you tame your own mind, so the wind, you know how to tame those thoughts and the emotions the beautiful way so you don't have suffering. You know that love involves you being yourself vulnerably with trust and self worth. And that those who don't know true love, they don't know that they are beloved. And they, in fact, don't remember, like the 5D collective does, mystics and not, that we're all one big cloth. And so when you communicate to each other, this is very important that you are able to communicate with a integrated brain, a restorative embodied self, open heart. And so through the heart and through the mind and as functional adults, we believe in each other and we're connected also to that lovely source for those of us who are in the enlightened mental age group and enlightening with mental, emotional, and physical mastery and intelligence. And being ordinary is actively what we all are, but with the lovely Jesus name, Christ consciousness. So, unconditionally loving each other with flaws, imperfections, integrity. Let me share with you what true love sounds like. Let me count the ways that I love, the smiles you bring to my heart, the silence you fill with awe and splendor, the essence of life and love that you are, the magic that the mere expression of you holds, the embodiment of the infinite and unknown splendors of life that you bring to me each day. I love thee for that which our fusion creates. It is love and life in form, completely conscious of being and awakened in every breath, thought, and action we take, both together and apart. Let me count the ways I love thee, and knowing that together we bring to life that which is deemed impossible to be experienced by a mortal being. The experience of love and life in its utmost, unlimited, and infinite expression and potential. When you're able to love yourself this way, and then you're able to love another, you're going to know true love. And that's also why when someone doesn't feel that you are right for them, you will accept, respect, and continue to love them. And that's for my polyamory and monoamory community. So securely attached people navigate to HP because spiritual self-help and or secular and the 5D collective are all those who want to continue to expand as we move forward in this lovely era. Because of good attachment trauma information people, we know that some people are not ready for the true love that we talk about. In fact, Stephen Porges didn't write his book with his wife about true love being securely attached people because the publishers told him, no, people want the suffering stuff. And I was like, what? Basically, that's what sells. So we have a lot of adaptive child, maladaptive child pattern behaviors out there. They navigate shame, blame, fault, revenge. They navigate low self-esteem, indirect communication, passive aggressive, no healthy boundaries. In fact, I see it all online, the blocking, the canceling, calling each other names, and then they withdraw and they just stick around with their in-group. It's also why the 4D mystics made up all this stuff. Their twin flame journey, their oversoul journey, they talk about people as crabs and pulling you down buckets and energy vampires and dark auras, Okay, so for the gist of it, yes, you have a twin flame potentially. Some have twin flames. You will know if you are actively connected to source and to that essence of love in life. I'm a Reiki master and I'm a Akashic record reader. I'm also a tarot oracle card reader and channeler. And the clairs are explainable by sciences. They are also the same as those spiritual gifts with the Holy Spirit. The religious institutions and any of those rigid brains that are of non-bilaterally integrated people. So anyone who's a adaptive child, using the term the way Terry Real does, they make it all about themselves, self-bridled expression, because they already believe to be right or wrong. They're in their brainstem, navigating their unconscious, their first 8 years of life with a teenager in the room, leading the way. I'm attachment trauma informed. And that is what I've noticed. All the Cuscos, they actively don't know how love works. They have shame and defectiveness at the get-go, and their teenager has a spiteful tooth, and then we have a lot of different layers. It's not Lucifer or evil in the way of Lucifer to blame. No, those demonic words, the people that use them, they're uneducated. And there's some of them that are scientist people within the mental health industry. It's unfortunate because the way they do it is, my colleagues, they don't side with me. I'm all alone on my battle. And we were like, yeah, well, there's a reason. It's because you're twisting your words. You just look fancy in suits, men, women, and days, and you're saying to people, here's the data. But what a 5D mystic and a 5D person knows is the people who hear you and say, yeah, they're all on the same karma wheel, pain point wheel. So they are getting hooked by the feminines that disconnect them from source, and they won't believe it. In fact, here's that Cherokee proverb. And when a person doesn't own their own feminine, that's why they will be easily mesmerized by that which is pretend. Yes, pretends are only pretends for people who don't know, again, how to hear. But I know why not. As I was saying with Stephen Porges, he shares how a person who is in their safety behavior, their ears are already down, their frontal lobes flopped, they're in their safety behavior, they're actively navigating from a low self-esteem place with mannerisms that come from dysregulated households. So their mannerisms come from their home. It's the attachment system that they have like ours. They play it out. So if you're a healthy self-worth person, you'll notice it, which is why you're like, what's going on here? So black and white split thinking also has a person making you out to be an angel 1 minute and then evil and devil and demon the next. And they then use these words actively in the absence of knowing about Patrick McNamara, neuroscientist, and how there's no demon possessing anyone. Also, they don't know about Dr. Daniel Siegel or Bethany, I forget her last name, or Ruth Lanius, or any and all the good therapists that talk to you about dissociative disorders and dissociative identity disorders and disorganized attachment, and what happens when people have alters and they don't have a sense of self that is whole. And so again, we don't have green lights, we have understanding. And so when you're interacting, so true love doesn't come in and out. Again, you say yes to it. So I say, you're the one. You say no to me. I know how to accept. I know how to share in a safe space. And then I know how to keep moving forward and being myself. So when someone's told me change, I'm like, what? I could put it in a jar every time it's happened. Okay, so here's this Cherokee proverb. I'm going to use feminine and masculine, the energies. We have both, by the way, but as a feminine, I understand what it means for a feminine, a true feminine, to actively give a masculine the opportunity to tap into their infinite, higher human conscious potential. It's, you are beautiful just the way you are. Be yourself. I don't want to, then go to good therapy because you obviously have something going on. Humans suck. Suffering is what it is. No, there's a therapist for you. He can help you learn what the healing process is. His name's Patrick Jan. Why are you always talking about therapy? No. Not always talk about it, just saying your first 3 years of life matter. Robert Sapolsky, a lot of good data. Found it hard to believe, and no, my 3 years don't matter. Okay, you know what? Have fun with pretend feminines who will capture you, mesmerize you. Ooh. And it's sad because it's called codependent type relationships. Martyrs, superiors, blamers, they don't have a good gut. Porous boundaries. The porous ones go into two ways. When they're in shame, they manipulate words desperately. And this is Tara Reel's little skit. When they're in grandiosity, they get like the squirrel from Cusco land. I've seen it, women particularly. In fact, it's not pretty to see. The men, I don't deal with men actively because see, my gut says no. And when it says no, it means I stay far away from you. And the only ones who actively make their way anywhere near me in a way that is completely unnecessary are the ones in shame with the manipulating desperately, which is why I'm not going to make you even more desperate. I'm just going to try and put up with you, and then in the future, hopefully consistently communicate the same message of I'm uninterested, and that works. So consistency works. In the absence of being a person who has to do anything that is what only martyrs, superiors, and blamers and porous boundary people and adaptive child behaviors do. Okay, so we know how to be functional adult love language here at IHP. True love is that. It's I will communicate to you, not shame you. If you were shamed, I feel bad for you, and I hope you go to good therapy and get out of it. Until you don't know how to get out of shame, I probably will not want to interact with you much because you will use that tone, and you don't notice how you were held. I do know how I was held, which is why I know my tone. It's also why I know I'll treat you with love, respect, and acceptance, which is what true love is. And that's it. And I don't make up shit in my head. Actively, I tell you to your face what I think, all of it. I don't hide any of it. Inner child adults, they say the truth, and that's what true love is. So we don't let me hide my feelings. I'll break down and cry, and then I'll break down and cry some more if I want. And if you say that I'm too much, I'll be very interested in knowing that you're not the one for me. Actively. I feel deeply the fact that you don't understand a person who has not only La Dolce Vita from Naples, Italy, and a bunch of passion, but I love to feel. Yeah, you're definitely not going to be mine because, one, you're not mine property, but I'm just saying I love to feel deeply. And narrow states of consciousness, they don't want to feel. Good therapy would be great. So they can get vulnerable with their self and then be able to actively have love and romance. You're not romantic in the absence of having an open heart. I'll notice that it's closed. Yes, so the Cherokee proverb, a feminine's highest calling is to lead a masculine to that lovely source. So their soul, their source, the heart, their inner child, basically, the self of you, being yourself, again, humanly speaking. Okay, so you're beautiful just the way you are. Your contribution, your behavior is not to be pathologized here. I can say, hey, your tone, your behavior, can we work with this? And that's what happens. Okay, so as to unite lovely masculine with their own feminine and to become that infinite potential that any person can when they have a restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, and regulating life. So come on over for daily practices and voices and stories with mindfulness. Mindful people is really fun. We also have mindsight, and we use the inner growth mindset, and then we tap into more of our infinite higher human conscious potential experiences together as functional adults with healthy self-worth. We come from all places: mystics, sciences, spiritual, not spiritual, polyamory, monoamory, asexual, sexual, gray ace. We do not support unhealthy lifestyles, everything in moderation. So no torture chamber, no re-traumatizing, no disregarding. If we have a window of tolerance that then leads to dissociation clinically, no, that will be pointed out and shared with all of the love in the planet here. Okay, we want a good therapist. And we don't expect to be liked for telling the truth to people. We won't lie, though, because life's too short. The greatest gift, yes, is to accept, respect, and love someone. If I love you and I notice that you clinically dissociate and you are one of my mentor and or masterclass and or part of our community, please do accept and expect that we will share with you, hey, we saw the pseudo live thing, so we are at least going to let you know it. Obviously, your choice to do your mental health stuff the right way. And that's with good therapists. We know of them. One of them is Patrick Tian. He's awesome. And EMDR, Child Parts Work, Somatics. There's also Pat Ogden for sensory motor. And then there's also Diane Heller, and Peter Levine doesn't take anymore. We have Dr. Daniel Siegel. We have Dr. Daniel Fogg. I got plenty of names for you. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so people don't come here expecting that we won't share if we see something. Like if you project your Cusco attitude. Okay, your adaptive child came up. No, actively. I don't want to insult you with the word. I'm just letting you know your adaptive child came up. So we're going to be able to have these types of conversations because, the most precious thing is life itself. We don't want you to realize it at your deathbed. We'd rather you be able to take the opportunity to do what is called, I attune to myself, I learned to regulate, and that's because I learned to heal what our trauma charges. Again, if you don't want to do it here, we have good therapists, obviously, and then you can come enjoy healthy self-worth and true love. So again, this is how we're going to connect you. The ones who mesmerize you with their suits, their whole for shame, blame, fault. Yeah, that's not here. There's a Zen master talks to you about laundry somewhere over there. So when you have a feminine, you're going to hear the truth. It's called a Jacob brain for some of us. Thanks, Rabbi, for that. It's called I'm objective, and I also like to tell people what to expect, and I don't do the lying. And I don't do filtering. I do try to keep up with the whole political correctness, but I don't know if I'll be able to do that all the time. So I'll wing it, and then I'll wait for my good regurgitation of material people who actively are functional adults and can say, okay, they remind me every time. Because they're functional adults, so they have fun. Hey, you forgot that thing. Remember over here. And they do it playfully. I'll notice from the tone. There's a difference when they think they know everything versus they know they don't know everything. They know some things and they want to contribute. Actively, our nervous systems speak to each other. Okay, so the feminine's lowest calling is to seduce, separating the masculine from their actual inner child, yes, and actively leaving them in shame, blame, fault, revenge, which is what those 7 to 14 charming do with the people who want the rigid structure because they have a teenager and they actively have shame, like the person who they follow, and that person gives them the world they want to see. So the adaptive, maladaptive child will pick leaders that represent what their pain point is and that they're living, and it's called the trust break and trauma stuff, and then they go around like Braveheart with Elsa Journey Mantle. So you'll always notice they have a hero cape or a villain cape or either or. Okay, so they're not really in the true love at all. They just want to talk about power couples and They're part of the twin flame. It's a tragedy, all that stuff. So we talk about our expansion as a mystic. Yes, Kundalini awakening is beautiful. I actively, oh my gosh, when I think about that, it's amazing. It's amazing your oversoul, what you will know as a feminine about your twin flames and soulmates. Okay, so I can't share. Sorry. Okay, the masculine's highest calling is to protect the feminine. That's why our mind tells us the truth, the objective brain. It's my default mode network and yours working without it being the left and right mode turning on and off. No, it's integrated. So your integration of the brain is what you can get if you come here daily. And then you eventually become a member, and we'll have mindful and mindsight and mindset practices and more, not just the stories. Okay, so once you have this capacity, you'll feel free to walk the earth unharmed, but you'll know that actively the sky could fall on you. Just saying. So your body knows, okay, I have fear. Oh shit. Oh wait, I can't control what comes out from the sky. Shoot. Okay, well, the masculine's lowest calling is to ambush and force their way into the life of the feminine, and that is actively what happens with the non-integrated brains. Their left mode makes up bullshit stories, but they didn't choose them. So yeah, that's where it's sad to know that the people who don't go to get good trauma therapy and then become their inner child adult, they don't join us here at True Love. But those who do, they know how to say yes to it, which is why this rabbi gets the feminine completely wrong, as does any person who's not a feminine. So a feminine knows that love is freedom and joy, and that attachment is bondage and misery. A feminine is when you have your mindfully aware body here and your mindfully aware mind, so you can have focused attention and in awareness while you're in maximum uncertainty. You're dealing with uncertainty, unexpected and unwanted, from within you with an open heart. Okay, so the heart has to be open. I stayed open-hearted by choice as a teenager after meeting all of the adolescents that, just like we were making very poor choices, I might add. I'm not ashamed. I can say that I'm not proud, but I can say that I learned. So feminine always knows we're expanding. That's why it's not post-traumatic. People who suffer think that tears and anger makes it post-traumatic. And the ones who are technical with their words. Okay, so we always know they want to change according to how they feel life, because that's when they're not accepting a differentiated self. That means I'm Maria. When we do get accepted, we know we're in the presence of the expanding consciousness human being who has differentiated their self and says, and they use their name. Because they overflow in their own humanity, then divinity descends. So now they have a relationship with the feminine of their own. So they understand what it means. Maria has thoughts and feelings that, yes, correlate to my emotions as a human, but they use words differently and they actively feel differently, and that's because they watch. And that's also because the only people who have suffering with emotions, like the Zen master with laundry, are the ones who don't know how to get out of their temporal junction and keep on using their prefrontal cortex. So they don't put into practice mindfulness and they don't get resilient. As long as you don't keep tuning into your own nervous system and being your own safe haven, your 1-year-old will not ever become yours, and you will consistently think of emotions such as sadness as something excruciatingly uncomfortable somehow. And I say somehow because I never found sadness uncomfortable, nor anger, nor disgust. They're not none of the emotions. But again, I got lovingly accepted. I didn't have to work for love. And I also got to express all my basic human child emotions. So again, the basic emotions: anger, correction; sadness, connection; fear, certainty; happiness, disgust keeps us safe from things that are not good for our body, like torture chamber shit. Yeah, that's not good for your body. It activates the sympathetic when people do scratching. So unless we're having a different sensory way, which is still being looked into by the good sex therapists, okay? So I know that some people support situations that actively have people's nervous systems continue to play out a specific way. I've heard from them. I have books and I have experts of all types. So again, remember that scientists, they chase each other. As for mystics, I didn't think that they'd become like the scientists, but they actively are. So we have mystics out there calling other mystics Luciferian era people. It's really interesting, not upsetting. It's interesting. I was going to say upsetting, but I was like, nope, not really. They're narrow states of consciousness. The 4D doesn't even know they are in 4D because they actively don't know what it means to be in 5D. I do. If you are in any way, shape, or form confused and a mystic, let me know. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because you will know what 5D is if you are part of the 5D. And so I have seen our 5D collective. They're out there. But you can ask. All questions are welcomed. I didn't mean to laugh at you. I'm thinking of the ones that I have answered these questions and they think that they are 5Ds again. And the ones who say 4D is in here, I'm just thinking about these mouths. Surprise! That's the other part. So, true love, it involves you consistently talking to me, not you coming in and out. It involves you consistently surprising me, not you coming in and out. You don't go cold, you don't go silent. And FYI, as we close out. So it involves me knowing you're the one. Let's dance. And that's where a woman can be rejected just as much as any man. And I don't know these, but what I can tell you is that I leave alone when men bring me stereotypes and generalizations. I dislike them very much. I have the awareness of the neuroscientific information on the human being, man and woman brain, so I do understand the differences. So I am actively aware of the capacity to see, yes, my woman brain definitely works differently than the man brain. So let me equate this for a minute. And please, again, like my dance teacher taught me in my school, college, I went to dance class, which I love. I love dancing. I'll share a couple stories in a minute. So for one, true love is a constant in general. Romantic true love, constant. Because the people who know true love, they don't show up and leave. They don't come in and out. They also don't call you one day and then they go silent for a whole year. No, this doesn't actively work that way. What I mean is if you're building a home with someone, that's where you're in a romantic relationship, okay? Until then, you're actively, what I like to say is experiencing moments of life because that's what it is. And that's where Pachas don't lecture Cuscos because we know Cuscos don't know what true love is. If they did, they wouldn't lie to us at the end of the movie and think that we don't know what they're doing. One, they'd be aware that we know what they're doing, and then they'd be aware of this is really me playing again this game that is not a game. Because a narrow state of consciousness is a person who's ashamed of their self, and that's a sad story. Because your contribution, like mine, is to be ordinary. And that's why secure attachment and secure attachment relationships are not boring. No. And when I hear attachment coaches who make that word part of their statements, I think you're not really great at what you do. In my personal opinion, as a life coach, as a mindfulness coach, teacher, I use all the words content creator. I'm thinking you actively are not motivating the very own community that you're telling them, I'm going to help you to get into what is your health. You're using the word boring. One, it tells me you don't know what secure attachment is at all yet, which is, of course, you have a process, you have time, get it, but you're actively selling what is a product. No, it's a service. I'll help you get a better life. And you want to use the word boring with secure attachment. You're just a sales pitch. You're another sales pitch that is using a pain point that is not effectively empowering anyone with your words in the opinion, again, of a human being who knows what well-being means. That's why it is not laundry Zen master. Go do some more mindfulness, please. Every human body has its own process. It's like when Mulan and the father are sitting down. Remember Mulan? Anybody watch the cartoons? I don't watch any of the updated stuff. And he tells her that there are cherry blossoms that blossom later. What a feminine knows, a true feminine, is that a masculine does not need to be captivated, Rabbi, and pulled by a string. The only people who think that are the very same people who are rigid because they didn't get the child-centric environment that was soft enough with enough guidelines to help you to make mistakes while feeling safe, which is where secure attachment comes in. And it's called the third attunement and repairing rupture. Not perfect parent. No, nobody's perfect. The other illusion, but we don't wear boxing gloves because that's not what life partners are about. I don't wear boxing gloves with you. I wear no mask. The point is, if I can't be vulnerable in the fetal position with you, then you're not a partner. If I can't sit with you and know that you'll have my back, what is this? Even though, FYI, any smart human being, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable, you know what we learn about in any of good trauma and mindfulness and anything. Okay, so let me share with you wisdom from the heart. Apophis, that card that we looked at a couple days ago, is necessary for the balance of the world. It is the struggle between two opposing energies with the risk of a no return. We have shame at the very bottom, which is hell, and those people who don't go heal their trauma. And then we have enlightenment, which is very possible for those who have integration of brain and want it. And you can raise your hand. It's not a special gift. It is beautiful, and it's not wine, Sadhguru. But I now know how you came to be your own self, and that's why I actively know why you think wine is what you're feeling when you're in your closed eyes. True love is the active feeling of bliss, which you will not know as long as you don't know how to maintain the flow state of you, which is when you are in the, this is why I want to try and describe it to you, safer space, the safest space you can think. But see, please don't put it into practice because I don't know you, listener, viewer. What I do know is every mindfulness practice will have you focus attention, become aware. Awareness is where maximum uncertainty comes up. And then kind intention. If you can't have kindness for all 8 billion people from here, you'll know it immediately. Your heart just answered, no, I don't. Yes, I do. Maybe. Your heart tells you. There's no question. That doesn't mean you have to have. If you're numb, great. Recognize that. Not great because obviously numbness means that you want Patrick Tiahan, Pat Ogden, sensory motor, very important, EMDR, child parts work, because you're not meant to be numb here. Numbness is an indication of you wanting support, and there's a process that any smart and good therapist will inform you of. Okay, we're going to get out of hell, but we need you to want to work with us, and that means the latter. So there's all these different ways people will inform you if they care. This is what the deal is now in this era. The ones who keep people stuck are the same ones who say scientific research shows that there's no way for changing narcissists. Wow, you really need to forgive, and you're not ready. So you should go to Patrick Tiahan because he shares why forgiveness is not something we have to do. And that's fine for those who don't have the capacity yet to forgive because they got traumatized as they grew up. But don't make it into a blanket statement on humanity and on all parents and on all narcissists. You don't make blanket statements. Scientists who are true scientists, they know this. 97% of what is out there isn't available to true scientists. That's like true spirituality. You don't prove spirituality like somebody who says, I'm going to disprove God and free will. They use these words. Really? Show me. Yes, I'm not even bothering personally. My brain's not even intrigued. By the way, I do go and read the material because I'm just curious. But I'm just like, yeah, okay, you're funny. So anyways, the you with integrity and what I was trying to share with you. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Will we get there? We don't know. We don't know if we'll get there. But we can get some people on board with their true love. So saying yes to being yourself with integrity is true love, number one. And that means you're able to know that you're never safe because the sky could fall on you, but you're safe enough. And then you get to know that you pick the herd, and that out of that herd, you might have a herd member or two or more that will backhand you. And that's in many different ways. And that means uncertainties, unexpected, and unwanted. And that when that happens, that's your moment of free will. What'd you do? Are you on screen saying, I forgave? I don't trust anyone. Are you still a teenager? Young adult? What are you? Black and white thinker? Okay, so FYI, the people who know what Jesus meant by forgiveness, we know it wasn't, let me say I forgave. That actively is you didn't forgive shit. Your heart's still all over this. You didn't process what happened. You didn't forgive. You have a charge. Your heart's closed. I can see it. Not in your eyes, in your tone, but I'm sure your eyes give away stuff too. Okay, so true love is where you know we're all flawed. We're all imperfect, but with integrity means we all do the best we can. Somebody doesn't have their self lens, they can't do the best of anything. If they deny their own trust break and trauma and then they go around prancing with data, you're going to notice who the 7 to 14 charming are a mile away if you're a smart human being, and they actively don't intrigue us. They make us giggle in our brains. I get to giggle every now and then. And the most of them are not in they're not interesting because they don't have anything fascinating to say except for the same stories. But every now and then I do get surprised. So, feminine is surprised by some things. I need to remember sciences. Sciences surprises me. Yes. Thanks to sciences, I get to know what I already knew when I was introduced, God and Jesus, that you have a heart and so do I. And that when I am presented anything that is not kind, that I get the opportunity to share with others the cheek. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. And then also remembering that you're all my brothers and sisters, and that I'm just as flawed and imperfect as anyone else, and that my physical life is safe, and that emotionally and mentally you don't hurt a human being who is true spirituality, because we don't take things personally. Our personality has nothing to do with whatever interactions we're having. In fact, we're actively trusting that you are doing the best you can. And if you are in your biological rudeness, well, I won't hold your 1 to 3-year-old who feels defective, and your 3 to 7-year-old who's a child, and your 8 to 16-year-old, accountable. You don't know that your dysregulation is something you're not looking to regulate as you're projecting it towards me, whatever story's going, whatever it is, or you're hiding. Whatever you're doing, Cusco, is okay. I'm Pacha. I'm actively aware there's stuff going on. I think you don't know what true love is, or being vulnerable, and I don't think you really want to. So I'm going to know how to share with you. I'm so grateful that we are spending some time together, narrow state of consciousness, and then I'm going to get to go. And that's where true love is something different. It is where you feel that you can sit in that space with that human being forever. And then it's consistently happening. Oh, yeah, that's right. So not just in your brain. It's actively every day, you and I tangoing. No boxing gloves. And you don't have to be monoamory. You don't have to be polyamory. You don't have to be any of it. But if you want to be talking to me right now romantically, because we have the non-romantic romantically, it doesn't move a hinge from what I just described. The minute it moves a hinge, you have a person who's not wielding their own body, heart, and mind yet. So as I was saying, here we tap into the infinite higher human conscious potential experience. Being able to consistently love is easy for the brain that is owned by the mind, the heart, and the body, because you know how to be yourself. You don't need the childhood trauma therapists anymore, or yet, or ever. If you just found out you might need, it is not something to be ashamed of. I know that there's still people who stigmatize with their own self. No one chooses to pass on that which is trauma. Not our ancestors, not anything. This is called emotionally, mentally, physically mature people know not to demonize or romanticize or make something that is a subject matter into a weighed down conversation, even though we're getting here now. We are getting here now because we have gotten enough information that has been able to enlighten all of us. The smart people already knew this information, which is why they feel it's a repeat. And it's not that they're smart because they know more regurgitation. No, it's because they're flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable brains that have healthy self-worth. So they go out there and they're like, this is something, similar to what was yesterday. But it's still something they find valuable because they notice, okay, well, it's teaching me new things. Okay, I'm changing up some words. Sometimes it's a bit annoying, but I still know what I'm being shared. You actively will notice what transformations are happening if you're with the true love of being a human, knowing time does change, and that words do change, because although it's always the same, there's still aspects that our human species is evolving. And this is the harmony and the dance that a feminine won't ever forget. And this, I can't help but share with you all, when I was opened up to my more, that moment. And the saddest part is that it was not something appreciated and that will ever be replicated. I shared it. I shared it by voice because I know who was the catalyst and the activator, and so it was magical. But there was a lack, and complete to this day, lack of interest in all that is a part of a feminine's world. So people are not mystics. They don't care about all of our woo-woo stuff. just letting you all know, they actively have, it's like a gray cloud. Okay, so you know Eeyore? Yeah, imagine Eeyore. So anytime I figure out that my loved ones are not into any of my woo-woo stuff, I don't share it at all. And that's where I had found that one out. So it's sad because actively, when you're experiencing a moment like that, it takes your breath away. But it's understandable. Right here is where a grown up comes in, says it's okay, 1 year old, 3 year old, because that's where we all have the desire to share with true love what is happening in our life. Every one of us is an inner child, even as an adult. You'll still want to share the mesmerizing moment that, So, this is the part of why being you with integrity is you automatically also recalibrating, and you know when somebody is the one, and then you'll know when they're not the one, and you don't get and harp on somebody's horn because they find something that you experience with a lot more depth. They don't find it interesting. You find the people who find the same depth of emotion with what you're experiencing, you see. And so that's the part of where, for me, whenever I'm meeting and interacting, and then I realize that the depth of what I'm experiencing is not felt, because you can't lie your way through that. Your nervous system will tell me because you're chit chatting over me or you're completely disengaged. Now, the only thing I'm going to say is that a person who doesn't know who they are, so they don't know how their brain works, that's something I've been working on personally, because I can tell if you're in a dorsal vagal shutdown and then if you're in sympathetic. I will actively be, for a minute, confused because I perceive you in your entirety. And when somebody is offline with their brain, I'm like, I cannot help but, there's a friend of mine, for example, there are moments when he's offline and not with dorsal vagal, it's for another reason. And I'm trying to learn how not to mention it because I notice it all the time whenever it happens, and usually it's something that it's again a pastime of theirs, and so they're actively just no. But my capacity is one that any person who's a somatic empath will have, because our insula is active, our default mode network is downregulated, my brain is in the prefrontal, I'm present, I'm curious, open, accepting, loving, so I'm attuning to my environment and I'm resonating and trusting. And so again, this is where I'm just hanging out, but I will be talking and I feel that nobody's listening. And so I will repeat and be like, I know I am, no, I am. And I have noticed that I'm the one with the double perception, but it is definitely challenging to disengage from it. So yeah, when people are not self-aware with mindfulness, and then they actively work with their own self, or at least they can tell you. So I have people, they know how to tell me, but I also have people that I've told them, I'm like, okay, I think your brain's tired right now. And they appreciate that because they actively are tired. And that's something beautiful to be able to share with you all. So I expanded a little bit, but true love, it is about us being able to share. You're the one. If somebody says you fell off your head and knocked your shit, no. Okay. So you process the emotions, and that's with a safe space and secure base people. And as for the feeling I was trying to describe to you, it's you being able to sit with someone and be safe and be in a comforted. So it's like always being supported. You actively, that satori, you will have heard of it, and it is true. You will feel this satori with those who are of that oversoul. The twin flame is the one that you will feel that with. And for those who have twin flames as well, soulmates is something different, although it depends where you're at with your clairs. And so again, so one, love is a consistency because you love yourself. You're able to be yourself with integrity. People who you share your life with, they will go through their own journey. If they know who they are, then you'll be able to consistently build secure connections. When you have secure attachment relationships, then you're consistently talking to each other. When you decide that you want to build together, you're deciding by talking. When you have people who tell you, no, you're not the one, twin flame, soulmate, doesn't matter, you accept. And if you have healthy self-worth, you don't ruminate. You don't do the suffering bit in your temporal junction. You actively have the loved ones. You cherish moments with healthy self-worth people. You don't go and get drunk or do drugs or do fucking somewhere. No, those are all unhealthy mechanisms. They're not you coping with anything. They're you, simply put, navigating what is a cycle that doesn't bring to you enrichment. Now, the people who want to do that, again, there's Pinocchio on that island. I am not here talking to you for Pinocchio on an island. It's Pinocchio as a real boy, real girl, real day. It's Pachas, not Cusco's. It's people who know Jesus, unconditional love. It's people who know no torture chamber stuff, no re-traumatization. It's people who care to heal the world, to support each other, for all to have heaven in the body, as many as we can support to get to their restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, and regulating body, and their integrated brain. Your active embodied brain is seeking to return to its origin. And that is why, no matter how you twist and turn it, sciences and spirituality, it is coming together. The ones who are in 3D, 4D, and narrow states of consciousness have no interest in expanding their consciousness. They go rigid and chaotic. You'll notice they will not accept the polyamory, monoamory. They will not accept the different ways we talk about spirituality and Holy Spirit and faith and Reiki and crystals. They will not accept the updated attachment trauma information. People who are sharing all behaviors are healable with the effort of the people who hold them, and then with the effort of people who welcome them. And that's with open communication, though. So I have noticed there are those, they say they know true love, and then they live in their head, and they don't know true love. So you know what? I'm going to pause this one, and I'm going to then create another one. I might release it prior, I might release it after, but that way I can share with you a story of an unawakened masculine. They're not a man, and they're not anything to do with my oversoul, and they're not anybody that's consulted with me in a way of, no, it's my personal life stuff. And I have a way to share it, so I will be doing that so that you can understand how this perpetuation of you not going to a good therapist, that's what all masculines, doesn't matter if they have clears or not. In fact, this masculine does have clears. This masculine knows of their twin flame, so it's the other way around. And here's why making blanket statements and thinking you can prove something scientifically from the spirituality plane makes any person who is of true faith and knows about source, it's just like, come on, really? So anyone who's 5D mystic will know too, because the minute that you hear people appropriating themselves of that which is in the plane of spirituality and belief and faith, you're going to know, okay, yeah, whatever. Like with the Zen master again and laundry. You're a Zen master and you have laundry. I mean, I know the path to enlightenment involves pain and loss, but you obviously didn't notice that you're still in it. But then again, we need all voices, FYI, because some people, they won't have in this lifetime the desire to move into their whole inner and outer well-being, their whole self. You know why? Well-being is fucking boring on a page of a person who's healing. You know, they're picking on avoidance attachments. So I want to stay this way and make a voice for avoidant attachments. And I'm going to tell you, those therapists, I paid them and they said I'm doing a good job. And then they said, just keep doing mindfulness journaling and coming. Why should I come to you? And why do I need to journal in mindfulness? I don't want to. Plus, all people are fucked up. Stephen Porges didn't publish his book because people buy books on human suffering instead of love. True love. Being ordinary. Being yourself. It's fun. You know how much fun I have with expanding peace of consciousness? A lot. Narrow, we have fun, but they're narrow. So you're going to perceive that narrow state of consciousness. Let me see if I can actively share with you. Not the picture, but I saw this actual image from one of Greg Braden's posts, I think, a long time ago. It's 3 vibratory principles in polarity therapy. And I don't know why he's sharing it, but all I can tell you is the fire principle, spiral currents, is the expanded one. Then we have the air principle, transverse currents. And then we have water principles, long line currents. And I was fascinated because when you are an expanding piece of consciousness, you're going to consistently feel just more. And so, again, true love, it's a constant. Doesn't come in and out, doesn't lie, none of that. We have active human being conversations, twin flames, soulmates, no saga, no drama, no chasing, no running, none of that. It's people who know how to be their self with integrity, and you grow more of it. So it's really fun. Again, we'll be back with some storytelling in a little bit. In the meantime, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you know anyone who wants to do spiritual and or secular self-help, secular meaning that we're okay with you calling us woo-woo, saying God doesn't exist. I know that for me, I do have that relationship, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm so offended. How dare you? Okay, so we don't do any of the exaggeration. And oh, if we do have emotional triggers, because I've noticed I don't know all words and all ways sentences can hit, but you'll be self-aware, and so that's the good thing of having a community of healthy self-worth people, because they can say, okay, you don't need to take it like that, making a big deal. It's okay. And we will say, okay, yeah, you're right. I am. Let me recalibrate, because sometimes it will be true. No, most of the time, if you're getting into your body language, somebody can point it out. And we're okay with that. That's because we're okay with tangoing. My favorite dance, one man had me moving like a queen. He was a stripper, and that's his profession. And when I found out, I was like, okay, making a lot of sense. I did a dance class, and in that dance class in my bachelor years, my teacher, as soon as we walked in, I don't care if you're feminist or not, the man leads the way in ballroom dancing. So get it together. My partner was a woman, and she was a beautiful woman. I'm sure she's still around, and she was pregnant. So because I'm tiny, I don't remember as she was getting through the months, she got bigger and bigger, but we danced really cool. It was fun. So other than that, I was out clubbing, and this man approached me. And in Italy, it's a lot safer. I don't go dancing and clubbing as much in America, because I know they come behind you, and there's no way that I could dance with my hands, and I would not want to be in that position. I'm 4'9", so actively, it's also not fun at all to see that. So long story short, though, in Italy, we move like crazy people, and that's okay. So I can just move however I want. So this man didn't approach me from behind. No, he actively looked at me, I believe. And I think I don't remember the exact way it went, but I felt safe. My body said, yes, it's good. Green light. So my body tells me right here and here, but my gut. And my gut has consistently led me very effectively well. So I allow myself to dance, and I'm like, wow, this is comfortable. It's fun. I felt very, very much in my skin, not threatened. And then when I'm done, I'm like, so what do you do for a living? But I did say, I'm not doing anything with you. Don't expect a kiss. Don't. And so when we were done, he's like, okay, but how about one kiss here? And since in Italy we salute, I'm like, okay, okay. So, and then he left. And I'll never forget that dance. Yes, makes me think of when you have blissfulness. So that's where true love, I mean, not him, definitely not. Magnify it. Like, I don't even know, infinity and beyond. That is how it feels. When you know that feeling, you don't forget it. And eventually you incorporate and embody it. I did actively think that I would not be able to. And then I remember saying, yes, you can. This is a part of all of us. And then I remember being able to. And now I can share with you all. That's the process. So from your 1 to 3 twin flame, to then soulmates, to then your entire mental, emotion, physical mastery. I'm an Akashic record reader, the Enlightenment Soul Age group. You'll be like, ooh, I'm back to myself again. Yay, that's how it felt. My active channeling was, ooh, I'm back to me. Now what? Now what? So you are ordinary, just full of love. We can thank all of our oversoul. True love. We thank all people that have shared life with us. And I want to honor my lovely friend again, because I was reminded, Facebook reminds you. And my friend was still here with me 6 years ago. They're not here physically with me anymore. And see, that's why we don't wait for anyone. I could die today. That's the thing. The rabbi gets it wrong. A feminine knows what love is. We won't be harnessing anyone. It's not how it works, Rabbi. It's not painful to start something new. And you get used to noticing that masculines, like the story I will share, actively don't choose to truly love their self. They don't learn how to be their self with integrity. They don't reclaim their inner child. So whenever you hear me talking about anything in a way of disappointment, I don't want to disrespect people's journey, but actively a person chooses fear, which means they choose shame, which means they choose the shame cycle, which means they choose to stay in unhealed trauma. There are those who will do that. I've seen it happen. It's not something fun. And that's where we're not here to tell other people and their state of consciousness to go and do anything. That's for low self-esteem human beings who are martyrs and superiors. The law keeps us organized. We can share with others how we want them to interact with us. And that's through healthy conversations. That's what true love is. It's, I don't appreciate the tone. I'm really upset today, and your tone doesn't make me feel at home right now. And I actively don't have the capacity to be myself. So I will have spoken words like this. Is I don't change. I'm sensitive. Your mannerisms are not allowing me to be sensitive. I will be leaving and I will not be here because I need to have a space that allows me to feel comfortable in my 1 year old. That is not a request that you have to meet. It is a presentation of this is who I am. It's a child part that is a part of me, and me feeling uncomfortable when I'm already uncomfortable is not lifting me up. You don't know what love is because your body in this moment doesn't have the space. Can I be kind, respectful, eloquent? Yes, doesn't matter how I can word myself. The part is when you're mindfully aware people, you will understand. So if your amygdala and your own emotional plane doesn't find that my emotions are important, you're not a lover at all. Not in the book of a woman, a man, or they who has self-love and who understands, no, my nervous system is not yours to have to calibrate, but I know when it's upset, and I definitely know when my active environment is not supporting me to feel better inside my body. And I have a right as a healthy self-worth 1 year old and 3 year old who got told and got given, thank goodness, a child-centric environment. I have the right to not feel ashamed of being vulnerable. And no matter how you'll twist your words, I will not feel ashamed of being a vulnerable human being. And I will be able to stand and say, thank you for your time again. So this is where when people get rejected in the other way around, by the way, like when I got to deal with porous boundary people, this is exactly why we can have what is called compassion, because any one of us knows when we have been in a space of being rejected. I was 4 when I went home crying because boys didn't want me to play because I'm too serious. I'm still too serious. I like being serious. I'm not too serious. I like to use my brain and all of my emotions, and everything is an in-depth conversation. This is where it is. Being you with integrity. Not all will like us. It's okay. We actively don't hang out with all people. We choose the people we want to live with. We choose the people we want to grow with, which is why it's not forced. True love. I don't keep you with a string. I say, this is who I am. And you say, and you actively don't let go. You don't let go of my hand. You see? But that's the part. In the physical plane, it means that we are consistently enamored with interacting on a daily basis. That is how you build an actual relationship independently from however old you may be, although the channel is for older people, 18 and over. But it's when you have healthy self-worth, you know how to love yourself first with integrity, and you have the functional adult mannerisms. Learn of Terry Real, go and find him out. And so you can be vulnerable. That's when true love begins for you. When you know how Jessica Fern puts in the book Poly Secure, she shares. It's a really great book, even if you're not polyamory. It's still great because she shares with you not only the different attachment styles, but also the importance of you being a securely attached person, which allows you to not just say yes to anyone. To say, okay, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I want safe haven, secure base. But also in a way of knowing, though, if somebody doesn't have the capacity to call you all the time. I've had people, not lovers. My lovers have never done any of this shit. In fact, that's why it's humorous. These are people from my land of friendship, women particularly. And this is where it's explainable, though. But you are doing it on purpose to not talk to me. No, I'm not. I don't have the time. And that's called, I don't know how to regulate my own nervous system. And that can only happen if the person can reassure themselves in time and understand we don't have time for everything. But it's always going to be in a conversation that it happens. You don't just up and do silent treatment. When people do that, and they have, I don't question what their motive is. It's not it's none of my business. I will actively understand they have no interest in communicating, which means their amygdala is not alerted to my emotional, mental, or physical entirety at all. It doesn't have to be. And they actively will make sure that you know that they don't actively have an interest, by the way. Because when people do the silent treatment, there's a reason. And if you call them and say, what's going on? They get defensive. That's the minute of truth. They are not actively aware of their self, one. They don't know true love. And it's called deflection and whatnot. And we don't spend time trying to, no, that's okay. You're not a lover, you're a person. Whatever's going on, you don't want to talk. Cool. Thanks so much. Again, you keep moving forward. The people who know true love, they don't do stuff like that because they consistently want to have an exchange, not monologues. And then they consistently do this over time. Okay. We'll be back with a story again in a little bit. So, if the light permits. And if not, like, share, and subscribe. We might have something later on. But in the meantime, thank you again for stopping by.